Well, Johnny, it's good to catch up, as always. Talking about football is great fun, but we haven't had you around for a little while because you had a few dramas. Take us through it.
Yeah, look, I had major heart surgery, which was, I had to have open heart surgery to repair my mitral valve because I had a major leak. That 50% of my blood was going back down into my lungs. It was pretty scary. It's 9 weeks ago now, but you know, thankfully it all went well and I feel good, and you know, I'm able to be back and talk about football, something that I love.
I guess anytime you mention major surgery of any type, or major heart surgery, open heart surgery, it makes people think, oh no, how bad is that? I mean, how bad was it and how tough was it to get through it?
Look, very scary, especially when you first find out. You know, I was getting a bit short of breath, but I just thought it was my age and, you know, me working out, not as fit as I used to be when I was playing. You know, the thing that scared me a little bit was the heart that was palpitating when I was sitting down. It was racing at times when I was sitting down on the couch watching football. So I thought I'd go see the local GP, see what he says, and he heard a murmur. So he sent me to the cardiologist, and they ended up doing an echo, which is an ultrasound scan of the heart. And as soon as they did that, they sent me straight to the cardiologist at the hospital, and as soon as I walked in, he just wrote down on a piece of paper and said severe. He literally said, you need to have surgery as soon as possible for these reasons, and this is the way we do it. You know, I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel that I was under the weather. I didn't feel that I was feeling that fatigue. You know, when I asked, you know, what it was exactly, they said that you had a tear in the mitral valve, and that's why there's that major leak. And then, you know, all thoughts go into your head. You know, why? First of all, how did it happen? You know, was it something that I did personally? And they just said it was just it's just one of those things. It's like crossing the road and getting hit by a car. You're just unlucky. And so then you know, you switch to, all right, how am I going to get through this and get through the whole situation? In
terms of the football hat you mentioned, there's no link to obviously your playing days or the stresses of being a coach. Did the specialist kind of take you through whether that was possible?
Yeah, he did, and then that was one of the questions I asked when I was sitting there in front of him when he was mentioning what I had and what I had to do and how they had to have the surgery done. And I said, is it you know, is it due to something I did as a player or growing up? Did I have it as a kid? And I didn't think I did, because we used to get checked, especially when we were playing in Europe before the World Cup. We had to have scans done on our heart. Was it something that happened during my coaching period? And he said, no, it's got nothing to do with anything like that. It's just one of those things that we can't explain why it's happened. The next question I asked was, so after I get it repaired, will I be able to coach again? And he said, yes, definitely. You'll feel better after the, you know, you recover from the operation. So that was another big relief for me, because, you know, I can live a normal life now.
And do you feel better, or can you notice a difference between before you had the issues to now? Do you feel better than, say, then, like a year or two ago?
Yeah, I do feel different now. I feel a lot better. I don't have that you know, palpitation anymore. I'm not short of breath. I've been, you know, working out in the gym and doing things because they say that your life gets back to normal. I was very fortunate that they were able to repair my mitral valve. The surgery goes for about 4 hours. They cut your sternum open, they open you up, and then they put your heart on a machine, deflate your lungs, and then they try and repair it. Now, if they can repair it, great. If they can't, then you have to either have a pig's valve as a replacement, or a mechanical valve. Now, before you go into surgery, you need to actually tell the surgeon which one do you want. Pig's valve only lasts about 10 years, so then you have to start to think about another open heart surgery. Mechanical valve, you have to be on warfarin, which is a blood thinner for the rest of your life, which a lot of people are on. For other reasons, but they say it's sort of like a rat poison.
Which never sounds like a great endorsement.
No, and this is the cardiologists and surgeons telling me this. You know, you'll be on rat poison for the rest of your life. You know, it's scary, because you go, well, you know, 43 years old, you know, I still, want a life to live. I still got a lot of things I want to do. I want to be with my kids, and so you think about that at first, and then you start to think, all right, how do I prepare myself to get through this surgery, and also to come out of it on the other side in good health. And all I could think about was my playing days and preparing for a big game, preparing for, this was going to be the biggest game that I've had to prepare for, because it's your life, it's a major organ. And so I start to think about even little things like the Uruguay game, when I was involved in how do I prepare for that. And for about 2 years there, I somehow convinced myself that I was going to score the goal to take Australia to the World Cup. And I thought, how did I do that? And I did it by always saying it and always mentioning it. I felt that it was going to happen. I felt that there was a given. I didn't know how it was going to happen. So I went away and wrote down on a piece of paper that it was sort of like a bookmark for me, because I was going to read a book to take my mind off of things a little bit. I started being grateful for the surgery being a success, and then I started to be grateful that my recovery had gone really well. And every time I read, I would read that at least 3 times to myself. And then, if I had any bad thoughts coming into my mind about the whole situation, I'd go back to that. And I just felt that made my mind a little bit more at ease.
It's amazing when you think about athletes or former athletes having an issue like this. You just think that their fitness levels is what helps them to get through, but that mental strength you talk about, the psychological will to come through it, is really interesting, isn't it? For anybody to be able to believe that they can get through something.
Yeah, I think mental side of things helps definitely, but not only in this scenario, but in life in general. The fitness side did help the recovery. I felt like crap after the operation. I was in intensive care for 6 days, and it wasn't a nice feeling, but I recovered pretty quickly after that. And but the mental side, that's all I tried to do, is just make sure that I was very focused on what was coming up, not to think about it too much in terms of what could go wrong, because that does come into your head quite a bit. And every time that happened, I would go back to reading, or go back to actually putting positive thoughts into my mind, because the last thing you want is to be scared, and which you are a little bit, and you want to try and get through the situation as easy as possible.
I would imagine you need that strength from those around you as well, but also you want to give them the positivity that, oh no, he's fine, he's going to get through it at the same time. When
I got told the news, I rang my wife and let her know, and just explained to her what was happening. So I was quite calm, and so hopefully she was calm about it. I told my mum, and it's quite calm about it. But when I told my dad, then that's when I broke down, because he was my strength in terms of when I was growing up, and he was my leader, that I probably could let my guard down a little bit with him. And when I told my daughters, again, I went back to being strong, so that they didn't feel that anything was going to go wrong to their dad. So yeah, that was the biggest thing, was trying to be strong for them, because they had to go through a pretty tough situation of seeing me like I was, and not knowing for about 4 hours how the operation was going.
Well, it's good to have you back talking football. Between now and whenever you go back into coaching, it's good to have you sticking around here for a bit. We'll talk about plenty of good football coming up the rest of this season and beyond. And great to see, more importantly, that you're in good shape.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be back. There was one thing that I did realise when I was away, was how much I miss football, and how much football means to me and means to my life. Of course I've got my family, but football's always been a passion, and I realised that more so when I was unable to do anything with football. And it did help that my surgeon, cardiologist and the anaesthetist was all Liverpool supporters, so they spoke about football, even though they started to annoy me about Liverpool.
That's fairly typical. They're everywhere too. That's no shock, is it?
They come out of the closet a little bit now.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. Well, good to see you, mate. It's always good to have you in and see you in top shape. We'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Rich.
Enjoying our YouTube channel? Be sure to subscribe and download the Optus Sport app.